let's talk Nico Iamaveala and the Tennessee Volunteers. This story broke this week, and it was honestly quite fascinating. Here are a couple of my initial thoughts that I had as this was coming out the other day. Number one, nothing like this ends this quickly. There was no way that Thursday he came and made demands, said he wanted a $2 million raise. The next day, didn't show up for practice, and the team said, we're done. We're not doing this. There's no way that is the full story. I think it's come out that there was some discussions before they played Ohio State in the college football playoff about renegotiating their contracts, these NIL contracts, and there has to be more to this story. I was listening to Joel Klatt, and Joel Klatt was talking about that he had some sources that were talking about how Nico and his camp were frustrated with the way the offense is going, that it's not necessarily a pro-ready offense, which it is not, and that he wanted to see some changes, and he hadn't seen any changes in the fall or in the spring, and so that's kind of how this all began. Nevertheless, this is one of, I'm sure, many types of situations like this that are going to come to the surface over the next couple of years. And the only reason is because we have no safeguards in college football. There are no guardrails for teams, for players. There is nothing. We have these contracts, but nothing says that you can negotiate or not negotiate or leave. There is nothing to that effect. And we are getting to the point in college football and really in college sports in general that we are becoming a professional model. So, if we are going to do that, you're going to have a players association, much like the NFLPA does and the NBA Players Association does, that negotiates contracts, negotiates terms, and fights for them. And then you should have the NCAA or whoever, the conference that you are in, have their own set of rules and guidelines and boundaries. But this is not going to be the first. This is the first high-profile one. There were some reports that earlier in the year there were some players from a bunch of different schools that kind of were holding out a little bit or saying that they wanted more money kind of towards the middle of the season, those sorts of things. But this will not be the only time. This is just the first. And the first is always messy. The first is always a big deal. And when you have a quarterback at a big-time SEC school that has been to the college football playoff, that played in the college football playoff last year, and is on a pretty decent Tennessee roster that thinks that they can compete in the SEC and get back to the college football playoff, you have that. It's a big deal. But this is not going to be the first time that this happens, or the last time that this happens. There will be plenty of situations exactly like this from here on out. And without any guardrails that from the NCAA or for anybody, the governing body, then this is going to continue to happen. I don't fault Nico necessarily. I mean, if you have leverage in a situation, you can use it. I'm not saying that you should maybe, but you can. If you have leverage, you can use that leverage. And Tennessee used the leverage that they had, which is say peace. And now Nico is trying to find himself a team in April. Spring practices are starting to wind down. You're going to start getting into your off-season workouts and into the fall before you know it. Fall camp's going to be here before you know it. And now you're looking for a new place with a new coordinator and a new offense and new everything. So this situation is messy. The whole situation is messy. And I am sure that nobody in this situation is really winning. Nico's not going to get the money that he asked. I don't think that there's going to be any teams out there that are willing to give him $4 million. And Tennessee's now looking for a quarterback. I had texted some buddies in Nashville who cover the Vols and some Vol fans, and it was just like, hey, the quarterback room at Tennessee right now has an opportunity to make a legendary run. If they can get to the point where they are winning a bunch of games, if they win the job, because this happened on the day of the spring game. That is one of the most fascinating parts of this, is that if this wouldn't have happened, Nico would have been playing in the game the next day. He would have been playing in the spring game. But I said, hey, the new Tennessee quarterback, if they can take the starting role in this spring game, solidify themselves, and go on a good season and get to the college football playoff, that's a pretty legendary run by a quarterback if they can do it with someone on the roster. I'm sure that they are now looking in the transfer portal, but I just don't think that at this point in time there's probably anybody that's worth giving any type of money or being a starting quarterback. If the person's not on your roster already, you probably have a bigger problem. I think that's, Nico, a lot of the conversations are about him going to UCLA or USC, and both of those teams have bigger problems than just trying to figure out the quarterback situation. That is a big one, obviously, but they have bigger issues. So this is not going to be the first time, or it was the first, but it's not going to be the last. This is going to happen again. I guarantee you that this is going to happen again. And it might even be next season. Who knows that this happens? Unprecedented, hasn't been seen really before, at least in the public eye. I'm sure that, back in the day, people were negotiating like this, but it had to be in private. You couldn't go public with this sort of information because it was against the rules. Now, these things can be out in the open, and you can negotiate through the media, and you can do all of those things, just like the NFL does and just like NFL players do. You can do all that in college football now. There's nothing stopping you. The good thing for these players at the college football level is that you don't actually have contracts that you're signing for 5 years and you can't do anything else. You can transfer. So that's going to be, we're getting to the professional model, and I think that this is going to get us in a different step to becoming more of the professional model where there are guardrails against NIL and what you can do.